and we'll go ahead and get started. Again, the billing worksheet webinar. Okay, so billing in Workamajig, we wanted to put in a process for you to follow. Okay, the idea is there's many ways to bill in Workamajig. So we would start out. So I'm just going to click into a project. So again, just any project, and I'm going to go to billing. So we can actually go into a project, and whether it's set up as a time and materials or fixed fee, we're basically able to come into that project and generate a worksheet that way. So again, this one is a time and materials one. Sorry, I should have gone to a fixed fee one. Here, let me find my fixed fee one. Here we go. So within the fixed fee, so I can come into the project, hit billing, and generate a fixed fee invoice based upon certain settings, or I can bill time and materials from the project. Okay, we can generate a generic invoice, just coming up into the plus icon and coming down and saying under billing and generate an invoice. Now, again, this type of workflow, usually, as you know, there's no approval process for it. It's just simply there. Okay, the next step up from that type of workflow would be under billing and today billing. We have the idea of mass billing. So we can set up the project, and I'll go over this setup where we would have, the project is set up for time and materials. So basically in bulk, again, no approval process necessary. I'm basically coming into the project and either just saying, oh, yep, here's the amount that's ready to bill on these, select all, generate the invoice, right? Again, billing doesn't need any type of approval. There are some filters that we can go into there, but there's the idea. But in billing worksheets, what we wanted to do is lay out an actual process. So we're going to kind of do the same thing as mass billing, but what we'll do is we're going to say, here's the project, and we're going to send that off to the account manager. Hey, account manager, here's that project. How much do you want to bill today? Right? And then they basically respond to it, right? You probably are doing something like this, either sharing an Excel sheet or something like that, but they're telling you, what is it that I want to bill on this project? Then that can come back into the billing, to the billing person. They can review it, approve it, and basically generate the invoices from there. Okay. So again, more of a billing workflow, and sending it to usually the account manager and then back to billing, although there can be places where we can change that a little bit. Okay, so today what I'm going to discuss is that workflow. Okay, some of the setup that needs to be in place. Okay, on the client side, maybe on the project side, and then we'll actually go through the workflow of generating the worksheet, and then back. Let me start this at 0, right? Okay, those will be fine. Okay, so again, generating the worksheets and looking at it from the account manager's point of view, as well as from the billing person's point of view. Okay, all right. So to start out with, let's go to some of the setup. I'm going to go to the client. So the idea is, again, when you onboard a client, you know how you want to bill them, probably. What type of invoice are you going to generate for them? And so that's where we're kind of bringing that into play on the client record itself. So I'm just going into a global search, and I just happen to have, again, my 2 clients here. So again, if I went to client and clicked on the company, it'd be the same thing. Okay, so I'm going to just pick Delta here, and I go to client detail, and under the billing, okay, under defaults, I can then set up, whenever I create a project for the company Delta, I'm going to be able to say, well, how do we bill them? We're going to bill them time and materials or fixed fee. Retainer falls into that a little bit, but again, I'm going to more concentrate on the time and materials or fixed fee. Okay. Now, because this is fixed fee, there may be the question of, are expenses included or not? Okay. So again, when I look at my project budgets, then again, am I looking at the entire budget, or am I just looking at the labor portion of the budget, and then the expenses would just be pulled in as they arrive? Okay. I can also set up what type of invoice I'm going to generate. Do I want 1 invoice per client, 1 invoice per project, that type of setting? Okay. So again, I want one, I have 3 projects. Do I want 1 invoice? I have 3 projects and I need 3 invoices. Okay, we can again handle either of those scenarios and several others. Okay. The next is actually the line format as well. So we can say, okay, when I have this fixed fee, how do I want to generate this, right? So do I want 1 line per, get this full screen so it'll display a little bit better. Here we go. Okay, so I can do 1 line per. Now for me, again, if I need to just get a single line in, I can do 1 line. I'm actually doing it by service and item. This is just a little tip for you guys. If you have sales tax, again, we tend to need to see the item itself. Also, the other side of doing it by service and item when you have fixed fee is I'm actually booking time towards that service that I budgeted towards. So it goes to the same GL account as if I actually had the time entry. Of course, it's not looking at the time entry itself. It's just simply looking at the service of copywriting, and it's booking that income to the service, copywriting. Okay, so that may be something that you guys like to do. So when you get into your billing reports, how much did we budget? How much did we bill? Right. This would allow you to see that in, equal, right? So I can see it's actually billed it, as opposed to if it's a single line, you're just going to get that single line. Okay. And then depending on how you're going to print it out, again, we have also, again, what's my layouts, but that goes to this one too, the add a top project line. That will allow you to still roll up the invoice into a single line, but all of the detail is still there for your GL posting. Okay. Just a little tip. And then if you have taxes, there's this one. There is also a setting we added in recently that says on fixed fee, go ahead and add, check the tax 1 or tax 2 boxes on the line. So taxes can be charged automatically across the line again. But if you have items that are taxable versus non-taxable, then you should always design your billing method to use the service and item. So we can see that item is taxable, this item is not. And then this tax rate would be set properly. Okay. All right. So anyway, sorry, little side note there. So now we're, that's the client setup. So again, we're coming in and saying, okay, when we deal with this client, this is the invoice layout that we want to use. This is the, how we want to bill them. And again, this is the default. Of course, when we get a real project, we can always change what it sets it up as on the, when we go into billing, potentially we can also switch how is it going to bill as well. Okay. So there's the client side. Any questions on that setup? Oh, gotcha, the default one for the lines. Let me go ahead and go to that one. So admin, system manager. Sorry, it's a brand new one, so I may get into the wrong place here. I apologize for that. I think it was. Here we go. So again, sorry, I kind of hunted and pecked there. So menu, admin, system setup, transaction preferences, client invoices, and then there's a checkbox that says set tax 1 and 2 applies on client invoice lines. So again, that's just going to set it on those ones where we have a line, because usually we have to see the item itself to have that checked. The items will be checked tax 1 or 2 based upon your settings on the item itself. Okay. Hey, what does it look like? Oh, yeah. So for when I'll get to that when we generate the invoice, the question is, what does it look like when you click the box, add a project line? That's simply the very first line is the project number. That's the line. And then all of the details, those services and items will be listed out below it. And so again, your layout can say just print the summary line as opposed to the detail lines, or you can have it print, both, so to speak. And actually, I have it set up that way. So again, when we generate an invoice, you'll be able to see this. Okay. Anything else on the client setup? Okay. Sorry if I'm running a little fast. It's a little big topic, so I want to make sure I cover most things. Okay. All right. So now, from that point, let's kind of go back to the project here. Next, we can go look at the project settings. So again, I set this up as a default. So then when I come to the projects, okay, and I just happen to have one. So again, the project is going to come in and be set up if it's fixed fee. Again, when I come to project settings and go to the billing options, it's going to say, hey, here's the fixed fee, right? So it's going to be set up. But of course, on any individual projects, like, oh, nope, this one's slightly different. It's a time and materials one versus fixed fee. But again, 80% of the time, I usually do fixed fee with them. So that's what I'm going to set it to. Okay. And again, when it gets set to fixed fee, are the expenses included or not? Okay. Right. The only other thing that we have, sorry, that's still in project settings, is we may set up a billing schedule as well. So when we set up the project and we know, hey, I need to bill them at this time, and this time, right? That's the only time. So this is a way to basically keep this project out of the billing cycle, because we think the billing cycles, once a month, you're kind of pulling through everything to say what's ready to bill. Okay. So if I don't want that to show up on my desktop every month, because I'm only going to bill them 3 and once a quarter type of thing, then I'm going to go ahead and set up a billing schedule. And again, I just set one up here, and I'll show you this once we get ready to generate worksheets. So again, you're just coming into the project itself and you're saying, okay, I need X% of the budget, or a dollar value, a currency value, I should say. Okay. I can set the date either based upon a milestone being completed or an actual date. Okay, so it's kind of up to me. If I use both of these, for example, if I said, I want it to be when the project setup completes, or 6/9, we do whichever occurred first. Okay, so if this one completed on 6/3, it's ready for billing. If this one is set to the complete on 6/20, but this is set to 6/9, it will show up on 6/9 for billing. Okay, so again, whichever is earlier, that's what it will pick. Okay. Okay. We also, if you guys use the system of advanced billing, right, I need to get a deposit invoice out there. Again, I can set up a billing schedule for that and just say create an advance bill on this date for either a percentage of the budget or a dollar value, and it'll automatically do that. Or again, another way would be I could just create my first advance bill, and then I can set up a schedule on that invoice. And again, if you have questions on that, just contact support, and we're happy to help you with setting those types of things up. Okay. So that is the project setup. Is there any questions on that? Okay. Now, okay, so if there's no questions, then let's get to, again, it's billing time. Okay, so like I said, during billing, again, we're looking for kind of this workflow and the process of billing. So again, we're getting ready to send everything to everybody, or to the account managers and say, what do you want me to bill? Okay, you may, like I said, you may be doing this already using an Excel spreadsheet or something. But what we have is the billing person can just come into billing, today billing, and there's going to be this generate, billing worksheets, generate worksheets. Okay, so I'm just going to hit generate. So right here, I have a through date. So basically this through date is going to give me all transactions on or before this date. Okay, so again, typically right now we would be billing May. So, I don't want to pull in any June time, right? So I want to, maybe set it to 5/31. The billing schedules will also adhere to this, and I'll show you this in just a second. So again, it's set to 5/31 and it's going to pull information in. Okay. The review date, usually we see these as being, ASAP, please get them back. This is basically to set a reminder. So, hey, you need to review this. So there might be some notifications that can go out, but usually we set it to be just a couple, the next day, right? But you can always change this. So again, it really doesn't control anything other than sending of notifications to say, hey, get your worksheet done. I tend to say, for the most part, if you're consistent in what you're doing, right, it's the first of the month. So Monday, I'm going to generate worksheets. I need them back by Wednesday so that I can review them. And Thursday, I'll probably get through the approval process and generate invoices. Okay. So if it's that type of workflow, we're trying to get that set up as well. So, account managers know, hey, it's the first Monday of the month. time to do this, or it's the 1st and the 15th, right? Whatever that is, right? So again, you can set in these paces so they know when they need to be looking in the bell to see their worksheets to review. Okay. All right. So with that, we have some other filters. I want time and expenses. Do you include expense reports and purchase orders? The include time and material 0 amounts and fixed fee 0 amounts. This is a way for you to include projects that do not have any transactions on them. So some use that as a notification, right? It's like, hey, this project is ready for billing. Should it be? And they're like, hey, there's nothing on it. Why is there nothing on it? Right. So that's just a little identifier. So they can just say, yep, don't bill, or, approve, and it'll just get auto approved and go back in. But again, it's just a way to identify those things. Okay. And then again, am I looking at orders or not? That's another one. Okay. Now, typically media is billed separately, but we can include that in a billing worksheet. Okay. Okay. There's other filters that are coming into play, right? Again, I show more and you're going to see I can get, what account manager, do it by account manager or whatnot. Again, the idea from the billing standpoint is, hey, give me everything. I send it out. You guys tell me what to do. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and hit search. And again, remember I'm at 531. Okay. And so once it goes out, it's going out to retrieve those. And so I have, a couple of these, like Charlie, these are the ones I'm kind of worried about. I'm going to create invoice for. Now, remember I had Delta and I had a fixed fee Delta, and it didn't have, it had a billing schedule, remember? And so that one, as you can see, did not show up because I have the date set to 5/31. Okay. So now I'm just going to change that date, to something in the future here, just so it shows up. Right. And just set it to like the 9th or something and go ahead and do the search again. I just wanted to show you that, say, it does adhere to that. So it doesn't show up for billing unless it's there. Now, I typically wouldn't be billing future. Okay. Just to give you that heads up. I'm just trying to bill, what's already happened. Again, time and materials or the fixed fee, however you're going to set that up. Okay. But I just wanted you to see that it does adhere to that billing schedule that you set up, that it won't show up for billing unless that date is met or that project complete date has been met. Okay. All right. So now we have the choice of, the idea from the billing person's point of view is you're simply just coming in and doing select all, because this will have all the different clients in here. And so I'm just going to select all. Okay. And say generate. Okay. I'm going to go to fixed fee, do the same thing. Now, again, I'm not going to do this on all because I just want these two to show up for me. But again, the idea is you're just coming in, select all, generate, select all, generate, select all, generate. Okay. But again, you can pick and choose if you'd like. And then I'm going to go to fixed fee, again, select all, generate. Again, if I had campaigns set up, there's a way for me to bill those. Again, fixed fee campaign, same thing. Again, if I had a retainer that perhaps has extras that I have to review, again, I want that to show up as well. Okay. But again, typically I might just do the retainers right off the bat. I'm probably going to do media right off the bat. Okay. Just to get those kind of cleared through. Okay. Right. So now, based upon how the client was set up, if you remember, we had that setting, one invoice per, and I put client, or do I put project, things like that. So I'm going to go ahead and again, I already set those up, I believe. Yep. Okay. So again, went through, select all, generate, select all, generate, select all, generate. So those are all generated. So what happened is those have now gone off to the account manager for review. Okay. Now there's going to be kind of two parts to this. So again, right now I'm still in the billing person's point of view. And so what happened is both of the Charlie and Delta, the client's Charlie and Delta, they were both set up to be one invoice per client. So what happened is they had two projects. And so each of those get their own worksheet. Those are generated out. And so the account manager on these worksheets will get that. Okay. Then there's a master or a primary roll-up worksheet, which also needs to be approved. This will actually go to the account manager set up on the client record. Okay, so this may be, two different account managers for each of these projects, but then the primary contact, or the account manager on the client record will get the master. So they're going to be able to review and see what was done on each of these projects and how much they want to bill. But this is how I get the one invoice per. Okay. And you'll see that this will actually be kind of what the invoice looks like, because we have it set up like this. So it's going to do time and materials to what billing schedule. That's what the project is. And then we have, again, those items listed out below that. And then this is the second project that would be listed out. Okay. All right. So again, from the billing point of view, we're always going to be able to see everything. Again, that master worksheet, again, is used to roll it up. Now, if I needed to have these separated out quite easily, I can just say, hey, you know what? This particular one accidentally got grabbed into this one. So I can simply just, remove it. It doesn't delete the worksheet. It just simply made it a single. So now when I approve that worksheet will create its own invoice. Okay. Now, if I made a mistake and it's like, oh, I generated all these worksheets and I actually need it to be in one, I can actually create a worksheet, and I can say, add those worksheets into this so it becomes a master. Okay. Does that make sense? Okay. Okay, so some of the questions as far as, once I generated it, it says, is there better to campaign multiple jobs or use the bill as one setting that when invoice uses bill as one? Again, that's up to you. Again, we have the ability to say, generate invoices, one invoice per campaign. So that would be that grouping, right? We're trying to get like things together, and also what does the client like it to be? Okay, so we kind of, whichever that is, do you go off of a campaign? Do I go off the project by itself? Do I go by, again, one invoice per client? So I just get a single one. It's really up to you in that respect. Okay. Is there a way to add comments before sending the account to the account manager? Okay. I'm not sure what comments you would want to send to them. Can you kind of specify that? What type of comments would you send? Typically there's not, because again, we're sending it out. They should already know this is time for billing. But if you wanted to go into it and add notes to it, so we have here the worksheet comments is one place. There's also, that'd probably be the best place, is this is worksheet comments. So as you open these, you can add comments, and they would see those types of things. But I'm not sure before I generate the worksheets what comments I would need to add in. Okay. Okay. Now the question is, I have this one PO. Okay, so that would be a client purchase order number. For me, if you have multiple projects that are contained under one purchase order, I would be creating a campaign that tracks that. And so then I would be billing one invoice per campaign. That's the way I would set it up. Okay. Anything else on the generation of worksheets? Okay, I don't think I missed anything here. Okay, can you set the worksheet details for all future worksheets? Yeah, it tends to that screen does remember what you set it to. So again, if you always use expense reports, then it's checked. It should remember that. As long as you don't clear your browser cache, it should remember those settings before you generate. Okay. And you'll see once we get into it, if something came into it, we'll be able to kick it out. Okay, so we haven't gotten to that review process yet. So, okay. Okay, so again, just say, so the time and materials one, right? So the individual child worksheets, those go to the project's account manager, okay? The master worksheet goes to the account manager set on the client record. Okay. And I'll actually show you how to, change those things if you need to. Okay. And in fact, here's the master. It's sitting with that account manager. And again, this is more part of the review, and I'll do that at that point. Okay. 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 So I've generated the worksheet. Again, we're trying to keep this very simple for the billing person. All they need to do is really say, hey, you told me it's time to bill, right? Here's the stuff it's billed. If you don't want it to show up, put in a billing schedule, then it won't show up for me. Okay. Or there's other filters, as you saw. There's a billing status that we could also use that can be set on the project so it doesn't show up. Okay. And it flexes. But again, I'm trying to keep it simple. The idea is, hey, here it is. It's billing time. You tell me what to do. Okay. So in light of that, okay, here is the account manager. Okay. So let me just refresh. I know it came through, but I just want to refresh that for sure brought in the last one. Okay. So the account manager, it's billing time. They will, up in the top right corner in the bell, they're going to see, hey, you have billing worksheets to review. Okay. So let's go through what they would see. So a billing worksheet. Okay. And because again, I am actually the account manager on the client as well. That's why the master worksheet is there. Okay. Let's first go through a time and materials one. Okay. So the time and materials one, if I click on that one and says view details. Okay. Now, where can we make comments? This worksheet comments is kind of at that top level. So whatever you want to type, worksheet comments are purely internal, right? Now, the question is, can I print this? Can I print this? Yes, but I'm also saying why? Okay, right? Because people can come into this and all the billing people will be able to see this on their desktop, right? They can see worksheets in review. They know exactly where the thing is. And I'll show you how it goes from in review to submitted for approval and things like that. So they're always going to be able to kind of see where things are at. Okay. So again, the need to print, sure, I can print it. I'm not sure why, but you can do that. Okay. All right. So again, this is a time and materials project. What do I see? Okay. So in the time and materials, I'm going to see this, right? How much is there to bill? I may also see other things in their other actions. If there were transactions that were perhaps marked as billed or marked as write-off, perhaps in a prior period, and I want to recover those will actually show up here for me to add into this particular worksheet. Okay. So I come into the to bill, or sorry, if I go to the budget, this is going to show me again, what was my budget, what's hit so far, how much have I billed so far, okay? And again, there's a couple of different views for this. I can do it by service or I can do it by, again, by task. But again, the idea is what's my budget, what actuals have happened and how much have I billed, okay? And again, budget is always approved estimates. Right? Anything that's approved, that becomes the budget. And that's what the comparison is. Okay. The next is, again, if I've invoiced prior, a list of those invoices is going to be there and it's going to show me the amount. So again, I know that I haven't billed anything so far on this one. Okay. So I come into here and it says to bill. So right now, again, I only had 2 labor transactions on this to give me the total, but the manipulation of these is the same. Okay, so I can click into the individual and I can say, I usually don't want to change the hours as far as that goes. I can split it off so it makes it 1 hour, 1 hour type of thing. I can do that. But I can also change the gross. So if it's like not 250, I want it to be 300 instead, I'm able to do that. And usually I'm going to put in some comments to say, wanted to charge more. Okay. And just to give you heads up, now, did this change this? If I go to the project and I see this $300, am I going to see that? No, this is the account manager telling billing, this is what I want to do. Nothing has happened so far. Okay. If I come in and say, you know what? I really don't want this one to be billed, or I want to write this off, I can come in and say, write this off. Why are you writing it off? I don't know. customer service, right? Or whatever that comment is. And again, the comments, worksheet comments are designed for internal play. Okay. So again, that went away. And so again, I'm working through my transactions to get to that. Okay. I go to, now you can see out on this outer loom, it's going to tell me how much I put into write-off. That if I had said do not bill, okay, let me go back into this one and kind of go through the what I can choose. Okay. Do not bill is basically saying it's still on on this worksheet, but just don't bill it, right? So next time it'll go back into the project and be billable. So the next time I can pick it up and decide to bill it. That is the preferred method, right? If you think you're going to bill it in the future, just say do not bill, so it goes back into the project as a billable. Okay. The others that we have is, again, mark as billed. That means we build them in a different way. Maybe we did something in trade, and so I don't want to bill this, but I still want to register as being billed, right? But it's not, right? It's marked as billed. If I wanted to write it off, right? So there was a reason we couldn't bill them for this for whatever reason, that's the write-off. I would kind of hold off on the mark as on hold, because to me, that can potentially hide it from billing. And so instead of that, that's why I say use the do not bill. Okay. Now, if the transaction you needed to edit, such as a vendor invoice, oops, I had something in the vendor invoice that I needed to adjust. Well, this process has already locked it down. So if I need to edit it, I can remove it. And then once I remove it, I can come to the add transactions and be able to pull it back into the worksheet after I'm done with the editing. Okay. Now, again, this is, again, if I have the right to do these things as an account manager. Okay. All right. So I'm kind of done with this. This is fine. Now, the question is, can I send this to somebody else? Yes. Now, obviously, I can say complete review, and that would send it back to billing. But if I want somebody else to see it, right, my manager needs to see it, I can come into here and I can flip it to somebody else. Okay. So once I save that, hit it, say save, then it's actually in their bell for them to do something with. They still see all the comments that I put into it. They see what the transactions were. But again, I have flipped it to somebody else. Okay. That's one way if you need other people to be involved. Okay. All right. All right. So I'm just going to leave it with me, of course. Okay. So again, for me, I'm going to say I'm going to complete that review. Okay. So now that's gone back to the, again, it's just kind of sitting there, but it's sitting in the billing person's, for further review type of thing. Okay. So again, I'm going through each of these and I'm kind of doing the same thing, right? So this is the other one. And I can simply, just say, okay, yeah, complete the review on this one. So that's good. It's going to bill that. And I'll actually do that with the master worksheet as well. Okay. Now fixed fee, a little different. Okay. Not much. So let me go into the fixed fee one and look at the details of that. So it's doing the same thing. I get the budget. I have the prior invoice, but this time I have the fixed fee amount. If you remember, I had bill a portion of the budget, right? So that's what, oh, sorry, that's this one here. So let me use that one. Okay. Okay. So you can see the budget is 457 and I had set the billing schedule to bill 50% of the budget at this time. So that's what it pulled in for the fixed fee amount. So when I bring this in now, also what I had done is I said account under the account, under the client account, I said bill, lines per service, right? So this is why it's broken out this way. So I can see each service and I can decide what percentage to bill of them. Okay. Now, again, it does say 50%, so it's lining that up. So there is the ability to obviously come in and change those values. Now, I also said expenses are not included. And so that's why this printing is showing up as something extra potentially. So I actually have to select this one off if I wanted to include it, okay, as an extra, okay? And that was just, again, because of the settings. I said it was included, right? So again, that's what that did, okay? I can change this if I need to. Again, I may not have the right to, but I can change maybe these billing methods. Again, I don't always have that right in case I wanted to change it to just a single line or things like that. Okay, but it's security rights to be able to do this. Okay. So you can see how I can change the value of those. Okay. The other thing is what we do is we actually go in and say, here's the transactions that have hit. And so we're going, the transactions have hit. What do you want me to do with them? So we're just going to mark them as billed. So they're marked to build in the same period as you're actually billing. Now, again, the value here is $790, but I'm billing what? $2,200. So that's the difference. So it's not a one-to-one match or anything. But even with this, if there was a mistake, I can actually come in and say, hey, by the way, bill this one, right? Why do I want to bill it? It bills 100%. And now this is kind of seen as an extra, as you can see. So again, even though it got marked as billed, I'm still able to move it. I'm still able to transfer it. I'm still able to do whatever I need to on that for these items. And again, leaving comments on the way of why I'm doing these things. Make sense? Okay. And I'll go ahead and save that. Okay. So that's really the fixed fee. So I wanted to show you that even though it came in with a fixed fee amount, the extras or the transactions themselves, we can still manipulate those and perhaps bill them or just leave them alone if we need to. Okay. There's still that ability to, of course, transfer them to other projects in that case. Okay. Now, one of the questions that will sometimes come up is, hey, I actually need to bill an even amount here. And so we do have the ability to come in and say mass change and say, I need to adjust the total amount to bill. And I want it to be $300 or $3,000. Okay. And I can say, oh, well, that was the 250. That was the extras, right? And so I'm basically saying commit the changes. And you can see that the extra now went from 250 to 200. So fixed fee, again, the fixed fee, I can just adjust these to come up with my $3,000. I wouldn't do that. It'd be more in the time and materials where I can get that mass update for the transactions. And so I can kind of normalize it to a single number if I need to be. So I'm sorry, this was just to, again, affect a mass change on the transactions to a particular value. Okay. All right. So again, once these all have gotten approved, so again, me as the account manager, I've done it. Yep, everything's great. Go and bill it. Okay. So any questions on the account manager's point of view? Okay. So just want to make sure I got these. Okay. Okay, so the idea, again, the question came in is, our agency has comments on the billing worksheet, usually a comment on each job asking what to bill. Well, that's what I just did as the account manager. I'm basically telling you, this is what I want to bill, and I can leave notes as to why I want to bill that. Okay, and again, can the worksheet be exported to PDF? It can be printed. But again, I'm asking, why would you do that? Because again, I'm going to print it out. And as soon as I get done printing it, it's no good because I've already made changes on it. So now I'm printing it again to send it off. So again, I would drive them to coming into the system so they can see them. And there's going to be ways to see this, and I can show you that. Okay. But yes, it can be printed, right? As you saw, I went to it and said, print, and I get to decide how to print it. Okay. All right. All right, just going to the chat here. Okay, you're saying it does not remember the setting. Okay, I can check on that one. Sorry. We always go back and forth on that. Does it remember? Does it not? Okay. Well, is there right to export billing sheet? Okay, can you set it so it automatically changes to the next reviewer? Again, no, that basically you're sending it to the account manager. They're the ones that should know. It's pretty much a two-step process. Then it goes back to billing in the state of submitted for approval. Now, this is a chance, and I'm going to get to that, where, again, somebody can step in, okay, maybe separate from the billing person, okay, at that point in time, or looking at the reviews for that. So I'll touch on that, okay. Jobs. I have a question. So let's say you have a bunch of jobs under one client and campaign, and you use one job to do your billings. Is there a way of creating a master in the, so again, if you have a campaign for them, right, then you can generate the worksheets, right, for one invoice per campaign. I can also, when I come up here, again, if I have a bunch of separated billing worksheets, there's an ability, oh, sorry, the account manager doesn't have it. So I'm going to go ahead and close out the account manager. I'm back to here. So the billing person has this ability to say, I want a new billing worksheet. And that billing worksheet can be said, I'm going to create a master for this client. And then I can add any, unique worksheets into this to group them all together. So if I need to kick it out of one master to bring it into this one, that's what I'm able to do. Okay. But again, we're trying to adhere to, one invoice per campaign, one invoice per client, one invoice per project type of idea. Okay. Okay. So the billing, the billing schedule saying when this task is done, that's when I bill. So that's kind of, again, task one is completed. That's when it shows up for billing. So I would imagine all the time and materials or the budget amount is for that. Okay. So again, there's going to be that way to say bill this, but don't bill that. Okay. So if that's by task, then again, you may set it up to be by task, but you can switch the view to say that. Okay. We tend to advance bill all client invoices, and a month end, we just apply services and expenses. Yep, exactly. So I'm getting to that point of the applying things. Okay. Our client wants one invoice per PO. Okay. So again, one invoice per PO to me sounds like a campaign, and that's the way we would group them together. Okay. And I'll show you in just a second how I can do the advanced bills to do that. Okay. All right. So those were in review. Let me go ahead and refresh this load here because I didn't want to create that one. Okay, so now we see I'm done with the approvals. And so it came back in worksheets to approve. Okay, it might be submitted for approval, just depends on the rate. So again, this is the next step. So this is where another person can step in. So if you come to billing worksheets and, for example, right here, so I want to see sent for approval ones, and that's going to give me a list of those worksheets that have been submitted. So this is where a manager could step in and start, again, filter to them to basically pull up the ones you want, and they get the exact same thing they did. As you can see, when I get into the master, I'm going to be able to see that. If I get into here, right? Okay, there's the individuals, here's the master, right? So they can see those same things. So this is another way of you manipulating that. The other is, of course, that I can go ahead and just send it to a specific person prior to submitting it. So it goes to the next person. Okay. Again, it's not automatic. Okay. But here it arrive here. So I know somewhere the boss wants to look at it. He'll be the one approving. Once it's approved, then the billing person steps in for the final review and generates the invoices. Okay. So that billing person is looking for worksheets in the approved, ready for client invoice type of thing. Okay. All right. So here we go. So again, whatever step it is, again, it's been submitted to for approval. This is where it sits. So now the billing person or whoever's in the step, right, if it's been forwarded on or whatever, this is where they get the chance to kind of see the same thing, right? So again, they see that amount to bill. I didn't do anything with this. I think I did it in fixed fee. Oh, here we go. So this one, they said write off 540. Let me go have a look at that one. Why are they asking to write off? And so I can see that it says mistake on doing work. Well, I can go ahead and manipulate this and say, nope, we're going to bill this. We always bill, right? We don't care, right? We always bill. And so there's me overriding it, right? So that is now that 840 is there as an amount to bill. when I click into the labor, I also see that there's been a change, right? It used to be the unit rate was 125, but now it's 150. Even this, right? It's like, why was it? Wanted to charge more. Okay, but I can then change it back if I need to. Okay, or I can split it and only do 1 hour, right? So again, it's kind of up to me to how I want to manipulate that one. But again, you can see it hasn't happened yet. It's just giving me a chance to see what is it that you want me to do. And again, with the edit comments, that's what I'm going to say. And then as well as the worksheet comments, I'm going to see those as well. Okay. So if these look good, again, depending on where I'm at, do I get the master as well, which I do. Okay. If I click on the master, because there are masters, okay. This one should. It's on this one. Sorry. Okay. So you're going to see in this one that we actually have, there is unapplied advanced bills. So again, for this particular client, because one invoice per client, it's looking towards these to say, hey, there's advanced bills sitting out there. Do you want to include those? Okay. And so again, here it shows up. So I'm able to apply those at this point. I can also say, do I hide the child or show the child, hide the parent, hide or show the parent child invoices. Again, so these could disappear depending on how they're set up, right? But the idea is that we're going to show you those advanced bills sitting on that so that we can then apply them to this so it pays off a portion of it or whatever portion you want. Okay, so again, apply that advance. And so right there in the worksheet, it's going to show, hey, this was for $7,200. I'm going to apply $1,500. So I'm actually going to have an invoice that will generate like this, but it'll say amount due $57.12. Make sense? Okay. So if everything looks good, okay, this is going to be a little different. So if I approve at the master level, it's going to auto approve all the individual worksheets. So that's one way of, I can just come in and say, yes, I reviewed these. But again, I can always go individually and say, yes, I reviewed that one, either approve or reject. Okay. If I reject, it's going to go back to that account manager with the comments of, fix these things or whatever it is that you put in. Okay. But otherwise I can approve individually if I need to, or I can just come to the master worksheet and say approve, and that auto approves the other one. So one point is the master worksheet should not be the first thing you approve, because then you took all the others out of the workflow. Okay, so it's usually used for that review, right? So final review, let me see all the worksheets. How did they come in? Okay, yes, 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 yes. I agree. Approve. Now it's ready to create the invoice. Okay. And again, I'll go ahead and, again, I can approve that in a couple of different ways. Okay. Does that portion make sense? So again, it's this chance to review. You're really seeing the exact same thing. You're just putting in a few different, again, you can adjust what they say, you can reject it. And again, that doesn't take final in any type of approval process for that. Okay, unless you reject it. Okay, so again, the stages that we've seen so far is basically worksheets in review. That means, again, they're with the account manager usually, or they've been passed on to somebody else. Then it would be worksheets in need approval, which is basically the account manager is done with it and they've submitted it for approval. Okay. And then the next is ready to create invoices. That means the worksheets have been approved, right? And again, it still gives me a chance to look at them. And then once they've been billed, they're billed and they drop off of these screens. We won't show them anymore, but the hooks are all in there. Okay. I'll see it on the project and I'll see that it was billed via this worksheet, that type of thing. Okay. All right. So now, again, I'm going to say, however it gets to this point, it's ready to create the invoices. So I only see 2 master worksheets, right? Yes, because that's how I'm generating the invoice. So whatever is going to generate the invoice, that's what I see here. If it was a worksheet that's generating the invoice, like 1 invoice per project, right? I'll see that individual worksheet here. But because I had 1 invoice per client or 1 invoice per campaign, I'm just going to see the master. Okay. And so on that master, again, even this gives me a chance to edit and see, but again, it's approved, so it's ready to go, but I can still come into here and take a look, right? I can see, does this make sense? This 840, oops, there was a mistake. Okay, so I need to unapprove this one, right? Make the changes I need to. This one needed to actually get back down to 125 after further review. And so now it's back to the 125, and then I can go ahead and approve it. And again, now that I'm back to ready, I have to approve the master again. Now I'm ready to generate the invoice again. Okay. So even in this stage, we're allowing you that chance to get that final review of the items that are going to be in the invoice. Okay. All right. So this is the easy part, right? So now, since again, we've given you all those chances to review it, so we're just saying, hey, select all, right? Generate the invoice, right? What's the invoice date? What's the posting date? I'm just going to pop this to the future a little bit. This, you wouldn't do this normally. Again, it would be today's date unless you wanted to backdate it to the 31st or whatever. Just depends on your billing cycle, how you guys want to do that. Up to you. Create invoices as approved. So I'm going to not, just so they show up for me to deal with. Does that make sense? So, but if you're the same person that would approve it, then I'm going to go ahead and say generate it as approved. Okay. But if even this invoice needs to go to somebody else, then unfortunately, I'm going to leave it unchecked, and I'll go ahead and review and submit them to somebody else to approve. Okay. But we think you've already looked at all the transactions. You've already decided what's the printout going to be. You've already, right? All of this has already been done at least 2 times, if not 3 times, if not 4 times. It's all been reviewed. So we think the invoice should be really ready to go, print and go, right? That's the concept, right? So I'm going to go ahead and generate the invoice. And again, I didn't approve it just so we could see the next step. Okay. So as you can see, that dropped off the worksheets, and now they're here waiting to be submitted. There's my 2 master worksheet ones. And so here they are ready for printing, but I haven't approved them. That's why they don't have an invoice number. But you can see that there it is, 1 line per project. So I get that top line as a project, and then I get the services there. So from here, it is really the layout that is taking control. So in this one, it looks like it's using details, okay? But in this one, I'll go ahead and change this to something else. So this is saying, give me the line details. So it's giving me a lot of information on that. Okay, let me do that. And I'll change this to, oh, looks like we did all line detail. Top, summary. Okay. So again, really the layout is going to determine how that prints out. Okay, there you go. See how it just rolled it all up into the project number and the amount. So again, kind of in between, right? Okay. So like I said, this is what we're doing. We onboard a client. We can set them up with what type of projects how do we bill the projects? How do we invoice the projects? And so all that can flow in. So again, a lot of the billing can now be a little more automatic. It's like, I already know what they're doing. Just tell me how much. It's going to go into the layout correctly based upon how we deal with them. Okay. I can always manipulate these, right? If I need to change the name of this to something else, I can click into it. If I need to add something else, I can always add something else into it. Okay. Now the order of these is kind of set, it doesn't much matter. But again, if I need this one to be broken out, I need it to say art direction for a certain amount, I can do that, right? I can pop it out if I need to. And so there it is by itself. Now it's a 810 by itself. So now when I print it, I'm going to see art direction. Oh, sorry. I have to save that. Yeah. It's probably the layout doesn't pull it right. Okay. there we go. Okay, a little funky, but again, it's going to give me that ability to kind of break out those individual items if I need to. Okay, sorry, it's just my layout's a little funky. Okay, somebody changed them on me. Okay, but again, just showing you that you can manipulate these on the fly if need be, right? Okay, and then as far as submitting them, because they're again waiting to be submitted, this is where I can go ahead and select them all and say submit the invoices. And then that's when they are going to go to those individual that are set up as invoice approvers, right? However you have that set up, it'll adhere to that and be submitted to those people for that final review. But again, we would think that these are ready to go. I would probably generate them as approved. Okay. Like I said, there's going to be, from the billing perspective, I'm always going to see here, where are the worksheets, right? Billing worksheets in review, worksheets ready for approval, worksheets ready to generate invoices. Okay. Down here, once the invoices are created, waiting to be submitted, invoices to print or email. That means they're, again, they've been approved, right? So they're ready to go. Okay. I think there's also submitted. So here, I'll go ahead and check one off and say submit invoices. Okay. I believe it does. Yeah, it's just, it drops it off. So this again, invoices to printer email, it kind of drops into there. If you have the need to, again, see the worksheets in general, there's going to be billing worksheets here. There's also a regular view that I can look at those. So again, it's been approved, it's billed, it's in review, it's been sent for approval. Those are the things that we would have, right? So in review with the account manager, sent for approval means they're back with it they're back with the billing person. Approved means they're waiting to generate invoices, and then billed means there's an invoice that's been generated. Okay. But the access point from these views is that I can, no, there's nothing sent for view. Sorry about that. Wrong one. Use. Sorry, I clicked on the wrong one. Okay. If I go look at the approved ones right now, do I not have any approved ones? Which one did I have left? Oh, worksheets in review. Thank you. Okay. Of course. Okay. So again, the view that I get from these is the same as if it was sent to me in the bell. And again, not everybody has access to this. The ability to approve it is generally anybody that can create a client invoice. That's going to give them access to see these worksheets. So again, management tends to have that ability. And so that's why it's visible. Okay. All right. And that is really billing worksheets in a flow. So again, we want you to set up this workflow for the agency that again starts with the client record being onboarded correctly. Then the project is set up to kind of feed information that way. The billing person is simply at billing time grabbing things and saying, hey, account manager, what do you want me to do? Account manager replies, can submit it to a manager by going to the ... more worksheets settings and change it to somebody else if they need to. Otherwise, they submit it for approval. Where it sits in the list of submitted for approval, that can be reviewed again. Once it sits, that might be a set of people that look at it, or it's the same person. Then it's approved, ready to generate an invoice. Again, another place for you to review. Then you generate the invoices, and even that, I now have the invoices that I can then review and either submit for approval, or they're again already approved if need be. And then it would just go into accounting and go for the posting. Okay. All right. And that kind of brings us, wow. Sorry, that was a whirlwind tour. Of course, if you guys have not implemented this workflow and are looking to, please set up training with your account manager. So support@workamajig.com to go through this workflow and work on the settings. Okay. Now, some of the side things, if you guys have a little bit more time and you're okay to say, if you guys need to drop off, that's fine. The recording will be made available to you, and I'll try and get to the questions here. But again, I know some people will actually do the worksheet in review and they sit in a room and go through those together. right? So I'm not saying that it has to go to the account manager, but we can still do this together, right? What do you want me to do on this one? What do you want me to do on that one? So they kind of take it from the in review, because then it's just a drop list, right? I did it, I did it, I did it. So I come back from lunch. What do I have left to do? These three. Okay, let me go through those things. So that's another kind of workflow. So it's pretty flexible for you to, kind of fit it into your agency. But it is a good way to gather the projects together and get them onto a single invoice, and also, again, provide that feedback back and forth of what they want to do. Okay. If you have descriptions from the project included in, so here's a question. If you have descriptions from the projects including in billing, how can we review all of this in worksheets online? Okay, so usually the project descriptions can be fed into it, and they'll become part of the kind of the invoice comment, or it might be on the project itself, and the layout will pull those project descriptions in, or yeah. So to review that particular description, I can't remember if we have a link to that or not. Sorry about that. Yeah, I don't think we have a link to that particular one. Again, the worksheet one is really, again, giving me the worksheet comments and then the invoice comments. This must be part of a master. So no, it's not. Advanced deliverables. Sorry, this is not mine that I set up, so I don't want to kind of muck with those. But that would be an understanding that, again, on the invoice itself, it would be pulling that information across. If there's billing comments on the transactions, we would see that. Okay. Do you have to send the master to be seen by primary client contact? Can you opt not to do this? The master, it's never going to the client. Okay. So the master is going to the account manager set on the client record, because again, there's multiple projects. Usually it's the account manager on that project. I can always, again, if they need to go to somebody else, I can always select the ones that need to go to somebody else. As you can see, I can reassign and change the name, and it'll pop it to that other person. Okay. Okay. And there's not an opt out of that. It is. It's, again, we're trying to set up a workflow. So for the most part, again, it goes to the account manager, and then it comes back into billing, which is anybody that can create a client invoice technically is seeing those worksheets submitted for approval. It's just your team will say, don't look at those, look at these, right? Go to here. That's where you're looking at. Okay. Okay, as far as there's stuff that's there for them to approve, again, that's just, notifications is one way, right? So system setup, let's see, that is transaction preferences and notifications. Basically, it's these right here, and you can say, is it an email, or is it a system message, or is it both? Okay. System message is basically, it's going to hit the bell. In the bell, there's also, again, what is it that will see here? And of course, I'm going to have these two checked off, right? So again, I make sure that it shows up in the bell, so they can't say, hey, by the way, I never saw it. I don't know how, right? As well as, again, as you can tell, in the billing process, I'm seeing where all the worksheets are. So if I need to come into this one, even though it's sitting with the account manager, as you can see, I can still approve it, right? I take it away from them and do what I want. Okay. All right. Well, thank you for the little bit of extra time. I'll just, any more questions? I think I got all of them, but if I skipped one, sorry. Oh, the very first one. Is there a handout for the webinar? There is not, right? The support guide, there is a support guide with a video on billing worksheets. Okay. And again, the add a project line, you saw how the invoice was generated, had that project line at the top, right? As opposed to it not having one. Worksheet. I think I got all of them. Okay. All right. Well, thank you guys very much for your time. If there's no more questions, we'll end it here. Like I said, thank you for the little bit of extra time from your team. Okay. Again, any questions you have, support@workamajig.com, and then set up some training if you need to go through that. Okay. All right. Thanks, guys. Have a great rest of the day. Enjoy. Bye-bye now.